stay with us. We are now being joined by Congress's Alka Lamba. Ms. Lamba, thank you so much for joining us. Essentially, we have this story about how the LG has now approved a CBI probe into the irregularities when it comes to the procurement of 1,000 DTC buses. Now, we've already spoken to representatives from the BJP. They want Kejriwal to resign. Are you also going to be along the same lines as the BJP?
देखिए, सबसे पहले भारतीय राष्ट्रीय कांग्रेस इस दूसरी सीबीआई जांच का स्वागत करती है। हमारा खुद का मानना है, डीटीसी हो, शराब नीति हो, इसमें भ्रष्टाचार हुआ है। लेकिन खुली चुनौती जो है वो एलजी को दिल्ली सरकार दे रही है। मुख्यमंत्री अब भी एलजी से मिलकर आए हैं। हम पूछना चाहते हैं, एलजी साहब की और मुख्यमंत्री की मीटिंग जो पहली सीबीआई जांच शराब नीति पर हुई, इसके बाद मिलते हैं, और ये जो दूसरी सीबीआई को जांच सौंपी उससे पहले मिलते हैं। ये दोनों जांच के बीच में इन लोगों की मुलाकात क्या हुई, क्या बात हुई है, क्या निकल कर आया है? क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं अगर ये जांच सिर्फ ढोंग है, दिखावा है, एक दूसरे की एक समझौते की राजनीति, क्योंकि हमें मालूम है हिमाचल और गुजरात चुनाव सर पे खड़ा हुआ है, इसलिए मुझे लगता है ये समझौते की, बार्गेन की राजनीति के अलावा यहाँ अभी तक कुछ हाथ लगते हुए देखा नहीं जा रहा है। हमें तो ये भी लग रहा है कि इनके समझौते के तहत जो सत्येंद्र जैन स्वास्थ्य मंत्री पिछले 2-2.5 महीनों से ईडी ने जेल में बिठाए हुए हैं, वो भी शायद एक समझौते के तहत बाहर आ जाएंगे। लेकिन ये हम मानते हैं कि भ्रष्टाचार हुआ है दिल्ली सरकार पर नैतिकता के आधार पर। बिल्कुल सत्येंद्र जैन जी, मनीष सिसोदिया जी और हमारे जो कैलाश गहलोत ट्रांसपोर्ट मिनिस्टर है, अगर थोड़ी भी नैतिकता हो उन्हें इस्तीफा तुरंत दे देना चाहिए। पर ये वो लोग हैं जो रामलीला मैदान में भ्रष्टाचार की बात करते थे, मनमोहन सिंह जी से नैतिकता पे इस्तीफा मांगते थे, आज जब अपने गिरेबान में झांकने की बात आई है तो ये कहते हैं हम कट्टर ईमानदार हैं। कट्टर ईमानदारी तो आपकी तब तय होगी जब आप जांच का सामना करेंगे, और जांच निष्पक्षता के साथ जल्द से जल्द की जाएगी। हम मांग करते हैं सीबीआई इस जांच को तुरंत शुरू करे और इसे जो है तुरंत अंजाम तक भी पहुंचाए, ना कि हम ये देखें कि आपका गुजरात और हिमाचल चुनाव तक सिर्फ इन दोनों में, आम आदमी पार्टी और भाजपा में, सिर्फ ये खींचातानी रहेगी, समझौते होंगे, चुनाव होंगे और ये खत्म हो जाएंगे मामले, कभी नतीजे तक नहीं पहुंच पाएंगे।
Alka Lambaji, thank you so much for speaking with us about this matter. Now I'm crossing over to the BJP's RP Singh, who has now joined us. Mr. Singh, thank you so much for speaking with us. Essentially, we are just hearing from the Congress. We spoke to Alka Lamba. Now, she's saying that corruption has definitely happened. Both your party and the Congress seem to be on the same line when it comes to the AAP. But your party is demanding the resignation of Kejriwal. But do you think this is likely to happen? Because he has already stood by his ministers, especially Manish Sisodia.
Well, he stood by Mr. Sundar Jain also, and Mr. Jain is in jail, and he has been seeking bail, and bail has not been granted to him. Once the complete detail of the cases against Mr. Sisodia in excise policy, in the liquor policy, are collected by the CBI will follow the pursuit as they follow the pursuit in Sundar Jain's case. Same is case with just now DTC fleet buying also, wherein there has been a bungling. One tender was floated, then it was bifurcated in two without going for this proper tender notice and process. Then also, even the buses were procured on a competitive rate by a company which never pitched for those buses. So this is clearly case of favor being given to a particular company. Let CBI inquire into it and let people know the truth.
All right, but essentially, when it comes to action against the AAP, now the LG has approved a CBI probe into this, but the AAP has constantly said that action that's being taken against them is being conducted and essentially orchestrated by your party, the ruling party. What do you have to say in response to this?
Well, they have a place to go to court for any such irregularity in investigation, but they are not going to court for any such irregularity in investigation, which clearly shows that they admit the guilt, they admit that these people are involved, and it's a matter of time when, as I said earlier, Sundar Jain, Mr. Sisodia, or Mr. Gehlot, or Mr. Kejriwal himself, whoever is guilty, whoever is corrupt will have to face the tune. Gone are the times when corrupt was shielded by the Prime Minister or by the government. Now every corrupt has to be booked and sent to jail.
All right. Now, I did speak with Mr. Harish Khurana of your party. Now, I did ask him a question about whether your party members are going to be approaching the president once again when it comes to this, and if you're going to be demanding the removal of the AAP government. But what I wanted to ask you is that, is this the correct way to go about it when it comes to taking action against the AAP?
Well, is that question to me or Mr. Harish Khurana has joined the line?
No. I was just reiterating something that I had asked to Mr. Harish Khurana, who we spoke to earlier when we first broke the story. So I wanted to ask you whether something similar, and whether you or your party will be doing the same thing and heading to the president to ask for the removal of the Aam Aadmi Party once again, and whether this is the correct way to go about it.
Well, let the procedure happen, let the investigation happen, and then we'll see what has to be done. But once the procedure happens, once the investigation happens, but yes, apparently it's clear with the documents which are there in public domain, it's clear that there has been corruption in buying the 1,000 buses of the DTC.
And is your party likely to organize any protests against the AAP?
Obviously, we have been doing it day out, day in. I mean, probably there's not a single day when our party has not been protested on streets, whether it's outside the house of Mr. Sisodia, Kejriwal, or in various areas in different Delhi, various areas of Delhi.
All right, Mr. RP Singh, thank you so much for joining us and for speaking to us about this. Now I'm crossing